Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my Winter 2022 quarterly writing wrap-up. I make these videos once every 3 months to set goals for myself for the coming 3 months and to look back on how I did for the goals I set for myself 3 months ago, because maybe a certain SEPTA will have to come punish me. I also do a couple of other things like highlight this quarter in my writing life, just in things I've been doing and taking part in. I have a special section for blog posts, and well, you'll see what I'm talking about because I have it all split up into sections, and the headers will be jumping down at you starting right now. So I started this quarter, and indeed 2022 as a year, with a bang. With the publication of my short story Cliffs and Vistas in the Main Street Rag magazine. Was very excited. I was kind of not expecting it when I got my acceptance letter in August. They said it might take up to a year. And in fact, I learned about my publication this winter by just randomly going to the website like, oh, they have a new magazine coming out. I wonder who's in it. What? But I am certainly thrilled to have this as a strong starting out point for my year in writing, and for more information about the story and about how to order it and so forth. I have a link down below. Otherwise, the majority of my quarter, at least in fiction writing pursuits, has been spent drafting a short story in the salon I belong to. I was hoping it would only take me a month to draft it. I actually started it at the very tail end of last quarter. I talked about it a little. It was in a very rough and incomplete form back then, and now it is finished, but it took much longer than just 1 month. It took basically all 3 months, most of them anyway, and after that I did start some revisions, which have been great, and I found them a lot easier than the actual drafting process. That seems to be my relationship right now with writing, is that revision is a lot easier than facing the blank page, which can make it difficult for some of the other projects I want to get to, which including my fantasy novel, which I'm in the middle of. But on that note, I decided to be proactive, and I found a new opportunity through the woman who created one of my previous writing groups, the Capitol Hill Writers Groups. It's an umbrella organization, and I was part of a smaller group under that for a couple of years until COVID, alas, and was following Donna Sokol, who is our founder, since, because she continues to create online and in-person groups and other opportunities. And one thing she decided to initiate this year is something that she calls power writing duos, which is an accountability thing where you're matched specifically with one other person with whom you might share a similar sort of writing project. And I admit I went into it kind of hoping that maybe she would have found another fantasy writer, somebody else tried to start a fantasy novel that I could like bounce world building ideas off of, or, that sort of thing. But that being said, this is a very new initiative, so not a whole lot of word is out yet. Plus, any writer is, good. Having anyone to talk to, anyone new to, talk about a writing journey with is just really helpful. So Donna matched me with my accountability partner, Anna, who is in fact writing a romance novel. And we have met online a couple of times to talk about it. It's been a very different experience, I think, so far than I was expecting. Although part of that is really on me, because my interests these past few months have been more in the short story department anyway, and I've been doing a lot more with that than with the fantasy novel. So it's not just not being paired with another fantasy novelist. So we're just starting to talk things out and talk about what we're interested in doing for each other. It looks like we might be doing some workshopping together. So that'll be fun, and I will be reporting back on what the next 3 months brings in that relationship. I am, in fact, a day late getting to filming and hopefully editing and uploading this video, which it feels like it's, the beginning of the spring quarter, since, April is is well underway now, in day 2. But that being said, this delay has caused an interesting sort of time loop for me that this morning I was able to attend a webinar through the Maryland Writers Association, which I guess I'll just go ahead and include in this winter wrap-up video because I'm here, so why not? It was a webinar on partner publishing. I feel like new terms of phrase are coming in. Partner publishing could also be referred to as hybrid publishing or self-publishing. Technically speaking, it's actually a little bit more vetted than that. In this instance, we had an author and the editor associated with a small local press, New Bay Books. I'll link them down below. And the author had to submit and actually be accepted for publication. Though in return, even though she probably had to pay more than a lot of traditionally published authors would, she had an amazing writer-editor relationship as they worked through the manuscript together. So that's pretty promising sounding. And also, having a immediate relationship with a graphic designer and that sort of thing. I mean, that's the sort of thing I like about this hybrid publishing option. Self-publishing, just going on it alone, you have to do all the work on your own about finding editors and designers and all sorts of things. Whereas if you go to a company where, it's a one-shop stopping, that's, a lot more approachable, I think. And also, maybe it would be easier to build relationships. In this case, actually, the author and the editor knew each other from beforehand. So I guess it's a reminder for writers, to hone all connections, take part in writing groups and see who you find, and who knows what it might lead to down the line. So I found it quite interesting to learn about, because I feel like I should at least keep the door open to the possibility of self-publishing. At the moment, I don't have any official plans to dip my toes in those waters, but it is also just really nice to learn about local people working together to create books. So yeah, I will link to more information about the webinar as well down below. But fiction writing isn't the only type of writing I do throughout the quarter, and in fact part of the reason for my lateness is I've been pretty busy this past week, especially, like getting out some of that content, amidst working obligations. So I'm proud of myself on that level. And as you might have just seen, I figured I'd take this section of the video to highlight my own blog posts, because I maintain 3 separate blogs and I write at least 1 post to them per month. And here are the ones that really stuck out to me in winter 2022. I'll start with Jewish DC, which is my blog where I'm largely chronicling Jewish events happening in the DC area. And I decided to write one about approaching the end of the second year of the pandemic, largely because I didn't have a more traditional sort of event to cover or, highlight for the future. So I thought I might go a little more personal than most of my blog entries on that blog. And it did give me the chance actually to talk about some of the initiatives like that my synagogue was putting out. Or I talked a bit about my excitement for an upcoming in-person Purim event, or I rehashed some of my memories for some of the in-person stuff that I was able to go to in the fall when the local JCC started having events in person again. So yeah, I just found it a nice sort of way to be hopeful about the future and rejuvenation of the Jewish community in this landscape where hopefully COVID is on the downswing and remains so. Next, I have my blog, Chava's Footsteps, where I talk a bit about broader Jewish issues, but also a fair bit about pop culture. A lot of my interest in pop culture finds its way into that blog. And in this case, I want to highlight one of my posts about the end of the Expanse television series. If you're familiar with this channel, you might know about how often I had mentioned my obsession with the Expanse. So I finally had to end it with a bang, at least the TV series as it stands right now. because at the moment there's no promise of any, further activity in that vein. But anyway, for season 6, one of the blog posts I wrote was the Expanse series finale and the end game for the villain I can't seem to stop talking about, plus his victims. I'm pretty sure that the villain Marco Inaris also featured in the blog post I highlighted in my last quarterly wrap-up. I found him quite fascinating in his way. He is somebody from an oppressed underclass who takes that sense of anger and hopelessness and turns himself into a really villainous character who espouses and condones and takes part in terrorism. He also has some personal relationships with some of our main characters too, so it's just a very compelling villain to end on, and also seeing how his former victims overtake him. So yeah, it was a great final season. And finally, on a similar vein, I talked adaptations in my reading and writing blog this quarter. I just posted this post, which I'm very excited about. I watched the Station 11 adaptation, a 10-part series on HBO Max. It's based off of the novel by Emily St. John Mandel. It, in fact, was airing at the same time in real life as The Expanse Season 6, and I felt like I couldn't deal with both of them at once, so I put off watching the Station 11 adaptation until this month, and I'm so glad that I did. I've had a really, I guess, obsessive experience with the book, that ever since I read it, I was so moved by it that I've been trying to read alike books, anything that has been compared to it, or a lot of things that have been compared to it, because obviously it was such a big hit on its own that publishers took note of that. And so I was nervous about going to the adaptation. I knew that they were changing a significant amount of plotline stuff, and of course I found that some of it I didn't like so much, but a lot of it I really loved, and felt like overall it stayed true to the the theme and the message of the book. So overall I was very happy with it, and I discuss at length in the adaptation blog what I liked about the adaptation, but since I'm doing it on my reading and writing blog and talking about it as a specific adaptation of a novel, I also do focus a lot more on comparing and contrasting to the novel and my experience of it. So that was also challenging and fun. And I guess I'll just end this section by pointing out very recent news at the beginning of this month, that the showrunner for Station 11, Patrick Somerville, has just entered into a new arrangement with, I think, HBO Max and with Emily St. John Mandel to adapt her next 2 novels, The Glass Hotel, which came out a couple years ago, and then Sea of Tranquility, which comes out in a few days. So I am very excited to see about where this will go. But am I excited to see where this next section of my video will go? We shall see, because it is time to rehash my goals for winter 2022 and see if a certain SEPTA has to visit me afterwards. So my goal number 1 was to finish a short story draft for real, and I definitely did that. I talked about it a fair bit in my general overview section, the process of slowly eking through a rough draft and now starting to revise it. I have a few more revision activities that I want to put on the table, but I am hoping that I'll get to my ultimate goal, of course, of having something I'm confident enough in that I can submit it to literary magazines, hopefully next quarter. Goal number 2 was read world-building research book and draft out some sketches, and this is my kind of, sort of, not really achieved goal. In fact, I used my accountability partnership with Anna to motivate myself to start reading this book. During one of my salon sessions, this is my world-building research book, and I took some notes in my computer. I actually don't, I don't know, it didn't really work out so well for me. I think what I really need to do for this book, I just want to scribble some notes in the margins and use it as a launching off point for thoughts. I feel like, what this really is for me, maybe it's even less about the world building and more about building my confidence up in that I can write scenes. I feel like that would be the best use of my time, but I certainly did not completely finish what I set out to do with this one. Which brings me to goal number 3, which was Fantasy Project Put Act 2A to Bed. And there's just no way getting around the fact that I failed this goal. So.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Fun fact, House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones prequel, now has an official release date on August 21st. I assume the Septa will not be invited. But I'll see if I can find the new teaser trailer and link it down below. Okay, in my case, I'm not moving on to a prequel, but a sequel, as I announce some new goals for spring 2022 and take my writing journey into the future. Okay, that's a little too grandiose. But anyway, here are the 3 goals I plan to get to in the spring. Goal number 1, I have a short stories corner goal. Submit Le Chanhara, which is the story I just finished last quarter, to some lit mags, and draft a genre tale, because I recently found a call for submissions that really intrigued me. And so I decided to go with my gut and see if I should try to write to that and see where that goes this quarter. Goal number 2 is to mark up this book with some world building, which I also talked about in my last section. But yeah, basically take a pencil and mark up this book with whatever I need to get my mind jump started so that I can feel confident for writing my fantasy project. Let's go! And finally, goal number 3 is related to that. It's a repeat fantasy project, Act 2A. Make that bed! I really am so close to the midpoint to where, you know, Act 2A would end. I am so close. This is so doable, self. Let's get to this. Let's get through this. Come on now. And on that note, I think I'm gonna go ahead and end this video right here. Thanks so much for sticking with me and witnessing this crazy writer journey by my side. I am very eager to turn the page on a new quarter of writing and of reading, because apparently there's a lot actually that's going on and starting up now that we're in April, including the BookTube Prize quarterfinals. I'm so excited. Robert has yesterday announced the end of the octafinals and which books made it forward into the quarterfinals, which I will also be judging. I judged the octafinals. And I can now officially share my reviews of the 6 books on my ballot. I am so excited, and that will be my next video coming out in the next couple of days, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, at least for those of you in my hemisphere, I hope you are enjoying a nice start to spring, some good weather, some flowering trees, and what have you. Longer days, something I'm always excited about. And I hope that you are excited, my fellow writers, for more goals and accomplishments up ahead. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. Keep writing, and I'll see you next time.